Hey everyone, welcome back to Daily Tuition. In this lecture, we are going to understand what is Bootstrap grid system. We will see how to use Bootstrap grid system to make responsive web pages for any device. There are many websites that are made with Bootstrap grid system. Grid system allows us to make responsive design. So in this lecture, we will learn the concept behind Bootstrap grid system. After this video, you will be able to create responsive designs. So before taking your too much time, so let's get started and understand how to create Bootstrap grid system. So Bootstrap has 12 column grid system and each column represent an equal width. That doesn't mean you can't change it. This 12 column element called grid container. And to initialize div as grid container, you will call row class. This class will initialize this element as grid container. In this row class, all the descendant div will be grid columns. To initialize div as grid column, we have call class. Now here, to this call class, we can specify any number between 1 to 12. If you leave the column number, it will take the available space. If you specify column 6 to the div, then it will have 6 column width. It means you have width of 6 column. You can replace this column number between 1 to 12 because as I said earlier, Bootstrap has 12 column grid system. If you specify column 5, you will have a width of 5 columns. And if you use column 1 to the div, you are specifying 1 column space to that div. And Bootstrap will leave the 11 column space to the rest of the columns. So let's say you want to create 3 columns of equal width. Then you will specify call 4 equally to the grid columns. So now, as you can see, you have 3 columns with equal width. Now you will see all the columns is in the same row and we have the 12 column width. Now this is all about desktop view. What about mobile and tablet? If you ever read Bootstrap documentation, you will find that Bootstrap has grid options. These options allow us to work with breakpoints. Now if you take a look at this table, then it's look confusing. So let me simplify your work and explain this table. In this table, you will see we have viewport, or you can say breakpoint size. And we also have a class prefix. Using this prefix, you can make your grid column responsive for any device. Now, you don't need to worry about this table because we are going to create a simple example to understand this table. So let's take an example. Now, to understand this example, I just open the Visual Studio Code editor and toggle the window on the right side. I just open the index.html file in the live server so you can see the live result on the browser. Now in this index file, I just have a simple HTML5 snippet. I just added this division tag with the class container fluid and remove padding from this div. Now in this div, I'm going to create grid container. So I'm going to just create comment here and say grid container. Now to create a grid container, you just need to call a Bootstrap class row. So I'm going to call here row class and I just specify this class to the division tag. Now you can call this div as grid container. Now in this grid container, you can call all the descendant div grid columns, right? To create grid columns, you need to first initialize a div as call class. So let's create a grid column. So I'm going to just create here a dot and say call. So this will create a simple grid column. You can call this division tag as grid column. Now in this div, I'm going to just specify a text. So I'm going to say here column 1. So this is my first column, so I'm going to say here call 1. Save the changes. Now you can see here I have my first column. To save some time, I already specify some color to it. So as you can see, I have this first column. This column will take the whole width of the viewport. Now let me just create one more column here. So I'm going to just duplicate this column. So I'm going to just press Alt Shift down key and just change this text to column 2. When I save the changes, as you can see, I have 2 columns. Now as you can see, the first column will take the half space of the viewport and the second column will also take the half space of the viewport. Now as I said earlier, Bootstrap has 12 column grid system. So I'm going to just create here 12 columns. And so I'm going to just copy these columns like this and just change this text so we'll understand the column number. Now as you can see, you have 12 columns here. Now when I save the changes, I have here 12 columns. To save some time, I already specify some colors to these columns. Now let's say you want to create 2 columns in a same row. So what I'm going to do is I want to add 6 column space to this first column and 6 column space to this second column. So when I specify 6 column space to the first column, this will take the space till the 6th column, and the second column will take the space from this column 7 till the column 12. So when you calculate the column, it equals to 12. Now I want to specify 6 column space to this first column. So what I'm going to do is, to this first column, I'm going to specify dash and specify the column number. I want to specify 6 column space to this first column. So I'm going to say here 6. When I save the changes, you can see the first column will increase its width till the 6th column, and you have 6 column width to the first column, right? As you can see, I have 6 column space to this first column, and the grid system will specify the rest of the space to the other columns. Now what I want to specify 6 column space to this second column as well. I'm going to do the same thing to the second column. So I'm going to specify here dash and specify 6. If you calculate this number, you have 12 column grid system. It means if you calculate 6 plus 6, you have 12, right? So when I save the changes, you can see here I have 2 columns and the rest of the columns will collapse to the next line. Now what if you want to create 3 columns? In that case, you need to decrease the size of these columns, because as I said, Bootstrap has 12 column grid system. Now let's say if you specify here 4. In that case, the third column will take the space of 4 columns. As you can see, this third column will take the space of 4 columns. Now what I want to create 3 columns on the same row. So I'm going to just decrease these values. So I'm going to just say here 4 and 4. Now if you calculate these columns, this will equal to 12. Now if you calculate this 4 plus 4 plus 4, you have 12, right? So you have 12 columns in the same row. When I save the changes, you can see I have 3 columns in the same row, because if you calculate the column, you have 12 column space. What if you want to increase the size of this first column? Now if I just change the size of this first column and increase it by 1, and I want to specify 5 column space to this first column, when I save the changes, you can see I have the space of 5 column and 4 column space to the second column. But what about the third column? As you can see, the third column is collapsed to the next line, because the Bootstrap will only take 12 columns in a single row. So as you can see, if you calculate these columns, it equals to 13. If you calculate here 5 plus 4 plus 4, it equals to 13. Bootstrap will collapse the last column to the next line, because Bootstrap is not able to specify space to the last column. So I need to just decrease the size one of these columns. So I'm going to just decrease the size of this middle column. So I'm going to decrease it by 1. So I'm going to just say here 3. And now if you calculate these columns, you have 12 column space. And I save the changes, I have all my 3 columns in a same row. As simple as that. You can do the same thing with these remaining columns as well. Now just after that, I just want to specify 7 column space to this 4th column and to this 5th column. So I'm going to just specify here called 7, and to this 5th column I'm going to do the same. When I save the changes, now as you can see, I have 2 columns on 2 new row. Now what I want to specify this 5th column right here in the same row. In that case, you need to decrease 2 from one of these columns, because if you calculate the numbers, you can see the 7 plus 7 is equal to 14. So you just need to decrease 2 from any of these columns. So I'm going to just decrease 2 from this 5th column. So I'm going to just specify here 5. Now if you calculate the width of these columns is equal to 12. When I save the changes, as you can see, I'm going to have 2 columns in the same row, right? You can do the same with these columns as well. So if I just specify here 2, 5, and I'm going to specify here 5. When I save the changes, I have 3 columns in the same row with a different width. The column 6 will take 2 column space, the column 7 will take 5 column space, and the column 8 will take 5 column space, and I'm going to leave the rest of the columns as it is. Now keep in mind, whenever you specify width to the column, calculate the width of the column, because if you want to align 2 columns in the same row, you need to specify 12 column width to that columns. Now this is how you can create columns in Bootstrap grid system. But what about making them responsive? Now let's see how to make these columns responsive for any device. Now let me just open the Bootstrap website. So if I just open the Bootstrap website, and when I just click on this get started, and from this layout, right from here, you can get the grid system. Now if you take a look at this grid system, you can see you have grid options here. Now using these grid options, you can make these columns responsive for any device. Now if you take a look at this table, and if you're a beginner, this is absolutely confusing for you. We will just understand this column using a simple example. Now I just want to open the inspect tool, so I'm going to press Ctrl+Shift+I and open the inspect tool. Now as you can see here, I have the viewport, or you can say the breakpoint 1440. Now I'm going to change this viewport, or you can say the breakpoint 576 pixel. So I'm going to change it to 576 pixel. This is the viewport for landscape mobile. Now let's say if you have a viewport equal to 576 pixel or less than that, you're going to get the same columns. But what about the content? The content will collapse to the next line or overflow from this div. In that case, you need to specify a proper space to these columns. If we take a look at these columns, then it's perfect for the landscape mobile. But what about the smallest mobile which has a viewport 320 pixel? You are going to get this type of result. What if you have a paragraph in the first column, image in the second column, and you have 5 lines of text in the third column? In that case, the data will overflow and you have a disturbed design. To solve this problem, I'm going to increase the first column width and specify 12 column space. Instead, specifying 5 column space, I'm going to specify here 12. So this will specify 12 column space to this first column. When I save the changes, you can see I have 12 column space to this first column. I'm going to do the same for the second, third, fourth and fifth column. If you save the changes, you can see this type of result, right? Now, just after that, what I want, when the viewport is greater than 576 pixel, I want to change the width of these columns because I have much space to work with. In that case, I'm going to create here 2 columns. I'm going to put this second column in the first row. So to do that, Bootstrap has a simple prefix sm. As you can see here, if the viewport is equal to 576 pixel or greater than that, I'm going to apply this class. Now here, I'm going to just specify call sm6. I'm going to do the same for the second column also. So I'm going to say call sm6. Let me show you what will happen when I save these changes. I have 2 columns on the same row. When I decrease this width, I have only 1 column in the same row. Let me show you. When I decrease this width, the second column will collapse to the next line and has 12 column width. I'm going to do the same for this third and fourth column as well. So if I just specify here call sm4, and I'm going to just say here call sm4, and do the same for this fifth column also. So I'm going to just say here call sm4. Now if you calculate this number, you're going to get 12 column width. Now I want to apply this sm class when the viewport is equal to 576 or greater than that, right? Now when I save the changes, you're going to get 3 columns in the same row. Now just after that, as you can see here, you have a medium width for the medium devices as well. Now let's say you have a viewport 768 pixel or greater than that. Now let me just increase the width of this viewport to 768 pixel. So I'm going to increase it. So I'm going to just say here 768 pixel. Now when I increase it, you can see I have much space to work with. So I'm going to just change these columns. I just want to add this third column in the first row. In that case, what I'm going to do is I have here a prefix MD. If the viewport is 768 pixel or greater than that, I want to apply all the classes which has MD prefix. I'm going to just open the index file. I want to specify here call MD4. So I just want to specify 4 column space to the first column when the viewport is 768 pixel or greater than that. I'm going to do the same right here as well. So I'm going to just copy this class and paste it here. Right? I just want to increase the width of this editor. When I save the changes, you can see we have the third column in the first row. As you can see, we have 3 columns in the first row. Now, just after that, what I want, when the viewport is greater than or equal to 768 pixel, I'm going to just increase this width of these columns. And I'm going to specify 6 column space to this 4th column and to this 5th column. So I'm going to just specify here call MD6. So I'm going to specify 6 column space to this 4th column. And I'm going to specify the 6 column space to the 5th column. When I save the changes, you can see here I have 2 columns in the same row. Now let's say you open your design on desktop. The desktop has 992 pixel width or greater than that. In that case, let's say if I just say here 992 pixel, you can see here I have much space to work with. Now I can align this 4th column in this first row. To do that, I have here a prefix called LG. Now using this LG prefix, you can do that. Now when the viewport is greater than or equal to 992 pixel, I'm going to apply this LG class. Now let's say I want to create here 4 columns in the first row. So I'm going to just say here call LG3. I'm going to specify the same class to my 2nd column, to my 3rd column and to my 4th column. So if you calculate the numbers, you're going to get 12 column width, right? Now what I want to apply this call LG3 classes when the viewport is equal to 992 pixel or greater than that. So when I save the changes, you can see this call MD3 classes is applied to these columns and I have 4 columns in the same row. Now I want to align the 6th column in this row. In that case, I'm going to just specify here to this 6th column. So I'm going to just say here call LG6. When I save the changes, I have my 6th column in the 2nd row. Now let's say you open your design on extra large desktop. If you just open this website on the viewport 1440, you have much space to work with. When someone opens this design on extra large device, I want to add 6 column in the first row. In that case, Bootstrap has a prefix XL. If the viewport is greater than or equal to 1200 pixel, I'm going to specify this class to the div and change the width of the column. Let me show you how. Now as I said, I want to add 6 column in the same row. I just want to add here call XL2. I'm going to just copy this class, paste it to the second column, paste it to the 3rd column, paste it to the 4th column, paste it to the 5th column and paste it to the 6th column. Now as you can see, if you calculate this class number, it equals to 12 column. If you calculate these numbers, we have 12 column space to these 6 columns. Now if the viewport is greater than or equal to 1200 pixel, I want to apply this call XL classes, right? Now just save the changes. Now as you can see, I have 6 column in the same row, right? As simple as that. You have just successfully created a responsive design for your website. Now if you change the viewport, you're going to get different columns on different viewport. Bootstrap will change the column space on certain breakpoint. Now let's say if I just decrease this viewport. Now if the viewport is equal to 1200 or greater than that, I'm going to have here 6 column. I'm going to apply these XL classes to all my divs. If I decrease this viewport and have less than 1200 viewport width, I'm going to get 4 columns here. Now on the first line you can see I have 4 columns. On the second line I have 2 columns. Now just after that, as you can see, the second breakpoint will happen on 992 pixel. Now if I just decrease this viewport to 992 pixel, Now as you can see here, if the viewport is equal to 992 pixel, I'm going to have here 4 columns on the first row, 2 columns on the second row. When I have viewport less than 992 pixel width, I'm going to have here 3 columns, right? Now on the first line I have 3 columns and on the second line I have 2 columns. Now let me just check the next breakpoint. So as you can see here, on the breakpoint 768 pixel, I'm going to apply this call MD classes. Now let me just decrease this viewport. So if the viewport is 768 pixel, right, I'm going to have 3 columns on the first row, 2 columns on the second row when I have 768 pixel or greater than that. Now if I decrease this viewport, I'm going to have here only 2 columns on the first row, 3 columns on the second row, right? So as you can see, at this point we are going to execute this breakpoint. Now just after that, the next breakpoint is for small devices, and this breakpoint is happen on 576 pixel. So I'm going to just decrease this viewport to 576 pixel. Now as you can see here, if the viewport is 576 pixel or greater than that, I'm going to have 2 columns on the first row, 3 columns on the second row. If the viewport is less than that, I'm going to change these columns. I'm going to change the width of these columns, right? So I'm going to just change it to 12 column width. Now if you decrease it, you can see you have 12 column width, right? Now if you open the viewport for mobile, you can see you have 12 column width. Now if you increase the width of your viewport, you can see your columns are responsive now. Now if you wanted to learn more about Bootstrap grid system, you can check out the Bootstrap documentation, and here you can find more about grid system. But just for now, I hope you understand how to create a Bootstrap grid system. Don't forget to like this video if you find anything useful. Don't forget to subscribe and comment if you have any question about this lecture. That is all for now. I will see you in the next lecture.